You are listening to the Maple Footy Podcast, the unofficial football podcast of the North. I'm your host, Sam Little. Find me on socials at SamLittle44 and the podcast at Maple Footy Pod. And now there's nothing left to say except for sit back, enjoy, and welcome to the show.
Hello, yes, welcome back to the Maple Footy Podcast. And squad dropped for the September window in the international break, where our boys will be taking on Romania and Wales over in Europe, which is very exciting. Kind of jealous that it's not happening near me, because those would be theoretically two good games to go to. But regardless, the squad dropped, which means I have some opinions on it, and we'll break it down just a little bit, give you my thoughts, my feelings, weigh up some predictions for those two September friendlies. And yeah, crazy that we're already almost into September. This year is flying by. Before you know it, we will be doing the 2026 World Cup coverage, and that is crazy. But anyways, what do you say we get into this? So how we're going to do this is I'm going to go by position, so goalie to defender, midfield, forwards, and just bring up some thoughts and feelings I have on the players selected and some exclusions within those positions as well. So let's start with our goalkeepers. Two of the three aren't really shocking, and if you kind of keep up on the Twitter speak, I would say all three aren't really shocking. But you, of course, have Maxime Crepeau, Dane St. Clair, and Jaden Hibbert. Jaden Hibbert, of course, the 21-year-old playing with Atlanta United. This is his first ever call-up, which is exciting. So, one, Jaden, if you're listening, congratulations. Two, I would love an interview. And three, hopefully it's the first of many call-ups for him, 21 years old. I think that's a good time to get him into the camp, especially learning from two keepers that have been in and around the Canadian camp for a long, long time now in Maxime Crepeau and Dane St. Clair. With our goalkeepers, I do think that Jesse Marsch is probably going to implement what he did with the Canadian Shield, where he's going to give one game and one the other. And I think it will be Dane St. Clair and Maxime Crepeau switching between the two. I don't think Hibbert will. I could be wrong, and I kind of hope I am, because I would like to see what he can do. But just judging off of Jesse Marsch and what we kind of know about him, I do think it is the battle between Crepeau and St. Clair, both kind of vying for that number one spot. If you know me, you know my loyalties lie with Maxime Crepeau. I think he is our best goalkeeper, and I honestly don't think it's close at the moment. I think I've explained it before in these terms. There's just a different aura about Maxime Crepeau when he puts on the Canadian jersey. There's just some players that rise to the occasion for their international team. And I just think Maxime Crepeau is that guy for Canada. Dane St. Clair is a very good goalkeeper, and as I've said on multiple occasions, is at worst probably top three in the MLS this season. I just don't think every time he's been given the reins for Canada, he has done much to warrant starting for Canada within what he's done wearing the Canadian jersey, if that makes sense. Jaden Hibbert, of course, I don't want to not talk about him just because I don't think he's going to be starting, but I just don't see him starting in these games. Like I said, I think it would be a good opportunity for him to start, but I think this camp is more so about getting him ingrained into the national team setup, meeting the guys, getting comfortable, and kind of getting a soak in this experience, go over to Europe and play against two pretty good European teams, even if he is on the bench. Like I said, maybe Jesse Marsch shocks us and he puts in Hibbert. I don't see it, but why not? You know, they are two friendlies. It's not like if we lose these games, it's, oh man, I can't believe we didn't win these, you know? Like, it's just kind of like, oh shoot, like whatever, we lost two friendlies or whatever. Which, yes, of course, every game you want to win. I know that. Trust me, I know. But also at the end of the day, these are the kind of games I feel like you can experiment just a little bit, nothing too crazy, because you also want to have your eye on 2026 and kind of be using guys that you think will be there in 2026. But yeah, I just think Hibbert, I don't see him getting the minutes, but I would be pleasantly surprised if he does, especially because he is so young. So I think it would be a great opportunity for him. Some exclusions for the keepers. Jonathan Sirois, I think, can feel a little bit hard done by. I know Montreal aren't doing great in the MLS. They are actually doing terrible in the MLS, but I do think it's not much to do with Sirois. I think he is a good goalkeeper. He has some transfer speculation around his name at the moment. Potentially teams in the second tier of England and in the second tier of France are both looking at him. So I think that kind of just shows his potential and where people kind of value him. So I think he can feel a little bit hard done by not to be here. But once again, I do think it is a fight for a third choice goalkeeper. I think that the first 1 and 2 are kind of bouncing back and forth between Crépeau and St. Clair at the moment. At the moment, anything can change. And then you're fighting for that just basically third spot. So Sirois, I think, can feel hard done by. Maxime Crépeau's teammate, James Pantemis, can, I think, also feel hard done by. I think he has had a solid season for Portland. Him and Crépeau have been the story of Crépeau's last couple of years, I think, both internationally and at club level, he's been bouncing between first choice and second choice goalkeeper. And that's no different with the Portland Timbers this season, where Crépeau and Pantemis are both bouncing back and forth between starting for the club, which is a shame because it's a shame that two really good Canadian goalkeepers happen to play on the same team, which means one of them will be sitting so the other one can play. But I suppose that's the way the cookie crumbles. Another omission, but this one is different. Owen Goodman, a lot of Canadian talk on Twitter has been us kind of waiting to see if Owen Goodman will say he's going to declare for Canada. Alas, Jesse Marsch has spoken out about it. Apparently, he doesn't have enough Canadian in him. By that, I mean he doesn't have any Canadian ancestry, and he didn't live in Canada long enough to be considered for whatever rules it is. I don't know. FIFA's muddy on all those rules. But yeah, essentially right now, Owen Goodman is looking into it, and there's a team of lawyers behind it. That is from Jesse Marsch's interview with One Soccer. So only time will tell if we will see Owen Goodman playing for Canada or if he will be playing with England or Nigeria. I think that is kind of a loss for Canada because he's got a very high ceiling, I would say. But also at the same time, when we have Maxime Crépeau right now. That's where I stand on it. So, yeah, Owen Goodman, I guess, don't expect him anytime soon, if ever, in a Canadian camp. If he ever is, I will be pleasantly surprised because I do rate him. But, yeah, just at the moment, I don't see it happening for the foreseeable future. And by the sounds of it, neither does the Canadian setup, unless this is just Jesse Marsch trying to, I don't want to say play hard to get, because you wouldn't be playing hard to get in this scenario, unless it's Jesse Marsch trying to just kind of stoke the fire, if you will, and trying to keep rumors out of the Canadian camp, maybe. I don't know. That's just me speculating now. But let's move into defenders. So we got Zorhan Bassong, Derek Cornelius, Luke DeFougerolles, Jamie Knight-Labelle, Richie Larea. Marshall Ruddy is included in this camp. Nico Seeger irritates me that he's listed as a defender, but also with Alistair Johnston's injury, makes sense. I think Seeger will probably be our starting right back. And Joel Waterman. Joel Waterman, by the way, fresh off a move to Chicago. So he is no longer a Montreal man. He is now, as Joe would say, back in Chicago. Even though I don't think he's never played for Chicago, but that's not the lyric to the Joe song. Sorry. Obscure reference. But we'll start from the top again. Zorhan Bassong, very, 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 very happy that he is included, especially with the injuries of like a lot of our defenders at the moment, mainly Sam Adekubi, where Bassong kind of filled in for him at the Gold Cup. I'm very happy to see Bassong in here. I think he has done more than enough to warrant a call-up, both with what he's done with the national team and at club level. Most recently, he just captained his team, Sporting Kansas City, in the MLS just a couple of games ago. I was going to say weeks ago. I don't even think it was a couple weeks ago. It was at Max, too. But yeah, really, really happy. I think he's had a good season, and I think he has shown he's just one of those players that he's going to leave it all out on the pitch. He was one of my favorite performers in my opinion, disastrous Gold Cup outside of that first game against Honduras. I think he just played with his heart on his sleeve. He showed why he wanted to be there, and I think he put in solid performances when he got the chance. And at the MLS level, I think he's also doing very, very well. I believe his contract is coming up with Sporting KC, but I could just be making that up. I could have sworn I might have seen that somewhere. Do correct me if I am wrong. But yeah, I'm very happy, I guess, to see him included, and that's where I'm gonna leave it with Basson, because I'm very happy that he is included here, and I hope that is a sign of things to come for his Canadian international career. I would love to see him keep getting included in these lists, so long as he keeps performing, of course, but I don't have any doubts that he won't, Derek Cornelius, not a shock. He's healthy. He's gonna be called up. Currently rumored to be going to Spain. I'm not going to lie, I cannot pronounce the team's name, so I'm not even going to attempt to embarrass myself with that. I hope it happens. I want him to get out of the mess that is Marseille. I think Roberto De Zerbi is an embarrassment. I think he's just awful, especially with what he did to Kone, and, I'm not going to get into it too much, but certain players that he selects and plays and backs publicly, I take very big issue with, just morally and ethically. But, we'll leave it at that. So, in a sense, really hope Derek Cornelius gets out of Marseille and ends up going to Spain. I was happy last summer when Derek Cornelius got the move to Marseille, and then everything else kind of happened, and now I would like him to leave. But Derek Cornelius is one of our top two center backs. Like I said, if he's healthy, he's going to be called up and will most likely be playing. I would honestly, not that I want them to waste Cornelius' time, but I wouldn't mind them going with the two young guys at center backs, at least one in one of the friendlies. But regardless, Derek Cornelius, very not surprised to see him here is what I'm getting at. He's been one of the most underrated performers in Jesse Marsh's Canada. So I'm glad as well with him in Bassong. Luc de Fougerolles has been playing in Belgium this season. He's on loan from Fulham to Dender. I believe that is how you say it. In the Belgium league, he has done very well so far, and I think this is much needed for De Fougerolles. He needs these more professional minutes at top level to be playing, and helping him both mature and improve his game, because you already see the makings of a good center back there, of a good player there in general. And so I think now it's about developing his game and getting those consistent minutes and consistency to his game. Once again, not shocked to see his name on this list. Jesse Marsh really seems to like De Fougerolles, and now that he is playing, there's really no excuse not to call him unless he's playing absolutely terribly, which he, of course, is not. So, yeah, happy with De Fougerolles. Jamie Knight-Labelle, same thing with De Fougerolles. He's young. I'm glad he's there. He's currently playing with Bristol City. He was on loan to the Crew last season, where I thought he was very good and very positive. He built upon his game, built in maturity as that season went on, and was he won their Player of the Month, I believe once, maybe more times. So, yeah, and I think these games, especially the Wales one, will mean something to him, because I believe he could have represented Wales at the international level, but he wanted Canada, and so I think this will mean something to him, and I'm excited to see if he plays or not. I would like to see him play. He has actually yet to clock minutes this season, which is a little bit of a concern, because we need him playing, especially in a World Cup year. You want as many of your Canadian boys to be playing, but their season in the championship did just start, so maybe it's just like a start of the season thing. They're waiting, and there's still a lot of games left, so hopefully that changes. If it doesn't, I would be hoping that he seeks out a loan move, because it did him wonders last season, so it would hopefully do him wonders this season as well. But yeah, Jamie Knight-Labelle and Luke DeFougerel, happy that they're both in here, and would actually like to see them play together in one of the friendlies, maybe the Welsh one, just because history there. Richie Laryea, no shock. One of the veterans of the squad. He's been good for a very poor TFC team. And I don't have much more to say, because if he's healthy and he's playing, Richie Laryea, I think, will always be called up. He's one of those guys you want in the locker room, and he's a utility guy. He can play left back, right back. He can even play right mid, left mid. So he's someone that you'd want in there, in and around the squad, and I'm happy that he's there, especially with some notable absentees in the leadership department. So yeah, having Richie Laryea there, I think, is a big plus. And I think he'll kind of thrive in these European games, because he likes that kind of cagey atmosphere and what have you. So I think these games could really suit Richie Laryea, and I'm expecting him to probably see a lot of minutes on the pitch. Jahkeele Marshall-Rutty was one of the, I don't want to say bigger surprises, because some people had been calling for him to get the call up, but of course he's had kind of a stop and go start to his young career, even though he's been around for, it feels like forever. But TFC kind of stop-started. Then he went to Montreal, kind of stop-started there, but now he's with Charlotte and is doing really, really well, attracting interest from Europe. Burnley was the one I saw him most recently linked with, and yeah, he's doing quite well. And I respect that Marsh, because I find Marsh doesn't do this a lot, is he's calling a guy up when he's in form and we're gonna see what he can do. I find that Marsh doesn't always do that in his short time with, well, not really short anymore, in his time with the men's national team. So I respect that he's doing this. I'm not sure how much Marshall-Rutty will play with guys like Bassong, Seager, and Laryea in those fullback positions, unless Marsh is going to deploy him as a winger, which he could do, I guess. But time will tell. It's nice to see a young guy included, and I would say he has earned it this season. And hopefully he can build on this and maybe become a more consistent call up, and we won't be, every window going, is Marshall-Rutty going to get the call up? Is he not? Maybe it'd be nice to see him become a consistent call up. So congratulations to him for getting the call, and hopefully he gets the chance to impress. Nico Seager, not a shock at all. I mean, he's got transfer speculation up the wazoo. Jesse Marsh has apparently said that, well, Jesse Marsh didn't apparently say, Jesse Marsh did say that apparently, there we go, Nico Seager is seeking a move to the Bundesliga. To who? I don't know. But I think he'd suit that style. I know earlier in the summer he was linked with Anderlecht and some Serie A clubs like Atalanta. I would have really liked him at Atalanta. I think he really suits the Serie A kind of game. But regardless, whatever. I do also think he suits the Bundesliga game as well. So, yeah, I mean, Nico Seager, he didn't travel with his team this week, apparently due to transfer speculation. Apparently there is a move in the works. Who knows? I take everything at this time of year with transfers with a grain of salt until I see the guy holding the jersey with his new club, So we will wait and see. I hope that Seager gets the chance to play in the midfield. I just don't think it's going to happen, just with certain guys being out right now. And happy Seager's there. I think he has a very high ceiling and hopefully a long career with the Canadian men's national team to come. Last but not least, Joel Waterman, fresh off of his move to Chicago. I mean, as you may know if you listen, I'm not his biggest fan. I think he's He's definitely a solid squad player to have, but I do think that there is a drop off from him compared to some of our other center backs, and that kind of kills me to say because he is a great CPL product that has gone and prospered and is now a pretty regular Canada call-up, which is the point of the CPL. And you know what? He did make me eat my words this last summer in the Gold Cup and the Canadian Shield. I thought he put in good performances, but also, my bias, I will say, kind of clouds my judgment with him because there are certain other defenders that I would like to see get a shot that I don't think are, and I think that they could do a very good job in our defense, which will bring me to some of the guys not being called up. Of course, Alistair Johnston is not getting called up because he is injured. He's going to be out for 3 months, apparently, according to Celtic. Shame that his season starts off with an injury, but I'm going to try to look at the positive side here. Maybe he gets injured now means he doesn't get injured at the end of the season before the World Cup. And I know that's not how injuries work, but let's try to be positive, everyone. But yeah, 3 months sucks. And Celtic also just missed out on a Champions League spot, so that double sucks. So Alistair Johnston will be coming back and not playing Champions League. Another defender who is massive for us, Moise Bombito. He is still out nursing his injury. He is expected to be back for the October window, and before that, playing with his club. Apparently, he's going to be back with his club, right after this window. So I think it's good that we didn't call him up and rush him back into it and then, re-aggravate something and whatnot. Let him heal, and then we can start calling him up again. Of course, still out, Alphonso Davies. Kind of goes without saying, but we'll say it anyways. He is still out, but he is back on the grass training, so that is good. Maybe we'll see him before the end of the year. Not too sure. Obviously, I don't know the full timeline, but maybe we luck out and we see Alphonso Davies. Sam Adekubi also still out with that Achilles injury. Some guys that are healthy that are not called up. Zach McGraw of the Portland Timbers. He has found it hard to get into the squad as of late, although I do think he is a solid defender. Just hasn't been able to crack the squad with the Timbers. Kyle Hebert, I will always go to bat for him. I really think that he has a place in this Canada squad, but obviously I'm not agreed with by the guy that makes those decisions. I think he has been pretty good for St. Louis. I know he's been in and out the lineup recently, but even when he was consistently starting for them, he wasn't getting called up. So to me, that doesn't really make much of a difference. And then I know, don't actually shoot me. Kamal Miller not getting called up, I think, is a mistake. I do still think at this very moment, I still think he is our third best center back. I think you have Cornelius and Bombito as our top two, and then I think you have Kamal Miller. Luke DeFougerel and Jamie Knight-LaBelle may and probably do have higher ceilings than Kamal Miller, but at this moment in time, I do think Kamal Miller still has a part to play. Concerning non-quotes around Kamal Miller, Jesse Marsh was asked about the exclusions of guys like Kamal Miller and Jonathan Osorio, and Jesse Marsh said Osorio is still very much in the plans for next summer and kind of just breezing past Kamal Miller, which is concerning to me. I think not bringing Kamal Miller to stuff like this and then subsequently the World Cup next summer, I think is a mistake, but of course time will tell if that is what happens and what isn't. But yeah, not a fan of Kamal Miller not getting called up, and I think I'm in the minority on that one. People have seemed to change their tune on Kamal Miller, and that's okay. Everyone has different opinions, but mine's right on this one, so I'm kidding. You're free to think what you want. I just personally feel as though Kamal Miller right now is still our third best center back. That is just my opinion. Moving into the midfield, I have thoughts on this. Ali Ahmed, Tajon Buchanan, Mathieu Chouanier, Stefan Eustáquio, Junior Hoylett, Ishmael Kone, Jaden Nelson, Nathan Saliba, and Schaffelberg. Ali Ahmed being included is a massive, massive, massive concern for me. Not that I doubt his quality, because I really don't. Ali Ahmed is one of our more exciting players and is great on the ball, great technically. My concern is he's just coming back from injury, and in recent windows, I'm trying not to slander anybody, but the people that deal with the injuries in the national team camp haven't done well by our boys, I would say. Bayern, of course, unhappy with how Davies was treated. And then, of course, you had Sam Adekubi going a full 90 in a meaningless Canadian Shield game where he then does his Achilles. Ali Ahmed in the Gold Cup did his ankle, then ended up playing another 10 minutes on it and has been out ever since until just recently he started to come back. I don't like the fact that Ali Ahmed is here just because I would rather him take this time to fully be back with Vancouver and kind of ease into games as Vancouver's trying to do, because it frightens me that Ali Ahmed's going to be called up and then say start one of the games and then they're going to push him and then he could re-aggravate an injury. And I understand injuries happen in sports, but I just think you need to give the guy some time to heal up. Now, obviously, I don't know as much as medical professionals, but I've seen this before with international windows, and that's not just Canada. Like, all teams do this. They call up one of their players who just came back from injury. He goes, he plays, he has one great game. Then they go, okay, we'll play him in the second game. And then he re-aggravates the injury, and he's out for even more time, especially in a World Cup year, especially where Vancouver are in their season. You don't want to be doing this to a player like Ali Ahmed. So I just hope that he is okay going into this window and coming out of it. That is my concern with Ali Ahmed, and especially when I'll get into this a little bit later. We have wingers in form right now that could also take that spot and be given a chance, but we'll get into that. Tajon Buchanan is a no-brainer right now in form, one of our best. Probably our best player right now in form, hot off of his hat trick against Villarreal, the first ever Canadian to score a hat trick in La Liga. So, yeah, remember when all the talking heads were doubting him over the summer, and I stood strong on my goat, Tajon Buchanan? Yeah. Guess who knew, ball? Maple Footy is the place to be for the Canadian any Canadian coverage, in my humble opinion. But yeah, Tajon Buchanan, I really don't have anything to say. He's, of course, a guaranteed call-up as long as he's healthy. And right now, you'd be dumb not to call him up with how good he has started the season with Villarreal and how good he was over the summer. Kind of like the select few players that had a decent Gold Cup. Tajon Buchanan was one of the standouts for Canada. He actually, played like we know he can. So I'm not bothered at all by him coming. Mathieu Choinière, he deserves the call up for sure. Now with LAFC, although that transfer feels a little bit sketchy, given that Grasshoppers own Grasshoppers and LAFC, I think, have similar or same people in the ownership. So it feels maybe a little bit sketchy, but whatever. That's sports. But yeah, I've long said that in form right now, he is our best player, our best midfielder, sorry. And I don't think that is any different at the moment. I still think in form, he is our best midfielder. And yeah, not shocked to see him, I guess. I don't have much to say on him either. Stefan Eustáquio, guess what? Don't have a whole ton to say on him either. He's healthy. He's our vice captain. He's going to be there pending that Porto decides to let him go. Although I do still blame our manager, our coach, for selecting him for that Gold Cup is what I'm referring to. But whatever. Nonetheless, we move on. Apparently, Eustáquio is looking for a move away from Porto, where I don't know. I saw apparently clubs in Turkey are looking at him, so we will wait and see on that one. But yeah, he's going to be called up regardless. As long as he's healthy, he'll be called up. So no shock there. He helps our possession game. He's, once again, one of the leaders in the locker room. Literally the vice captain. So yeah, I'm not going to sit here and go, I can't believe Stefan Eustáquio's been called up. Are you kidding me? Like, yeah, no. And also you can implement him into back three if that's what Jesse Marsch wants to do, because that's what Porto was doing at the tail end of last season. They were implementing him in a back three as a center back. I personally probably wouldn't do that with Canada, but hey, if you want to tinker with things, now is the time to do so. Who is next? Junior Hoilett. I'm very happy about this. I'm extremely happy about this. If you're a listener, you know I rate Junior Hoilett very highly. I have long said we don't have someone that can do what Junior Hoilett does outside of Junior Hoilett. I know he's getting a little bit... he's past getting a little bit older for a soccer player, of course. He is in his mid-30s now, but I do still think that if you can get like 20 to 30 minutes out of Junior Hoylett, you know that he has a moment in him. That's what I think. At this moment in his career, I know, we used to be used to getting a whole 90 out of Junior Hoylett, but now just with his age and everything, I think that if you can get 20 to 30 from him, he's going to give you a moment. I mean, look at our Suriname game in the CONCACAF Nations League, where we were really struggling in the away fixture. And who pops up? The veteran, Junior Hoylett, because that's what he does. And yeah, I'm very happy that he's here. He more than deserves it. I think he's been snubbed the last bunch of times with the national team to not be called up. Obviously, I don't make these decisions. I don't know the ongoings behind the scenes. But the fact that Junior Hoylett isn't a regular call-up is genuinely baffling to me. He's just one of those players where it's like, if he's healthy, he should be there. But that might just be me. I think it was shocking not to bring him to the Nations League and shocking not to bring him to the Gold Cup. But regardless, like I said, I don't make those decisions, but he should have been there, and I'm glad he's here for these ones. And hopefully, if he can stay healthy and keep playing how he did last season for Hibs, he can continue that this season and maybe get on the plane to the World Cup. But of course, I was looking a little bit into the future. But yes, regardless, happy that Junior Hoylett is there. Ishmael Kone is also here. Recently sent off in his Serie A debut for Sassuolo. But up until then, he was having a great game against the reigning champs, Napoli. And the sending off was 2 yellows. What can you do? I guess. I don't know. I'm happy that Kone is with Sassuolo. I do think that it is a beneficial move for him. He seems like he will be playing, barring suspension and injury. And that's what he needs right now. He spent half of last season not playing with Marseille, and then the other half of this season in and out of was it with Rennes he was with? Yeah, Rennes, I think. Oh gosh, my memory is not doing me justice at the moment. But regardless, spent the season kind of in and out of their lineup. Impressed when he got the chance, but didn't get the chance often. So now with Sassuolo, I really, really hope that he can find that consistency, because that is what Kone has always been missing. We know that his quality is there. He won, in my opinion, like based on ability, he is our best midfielder based on ability. The problem is we haven't seen it consistently enough for Canada and at club level to be able to say he is our best midfielder, period. Do you know what I mean? If that makes sense. I'm a big fan of Kone. I think he has probably the highest ceiling of most, if all of the youngsters in our national team. I just think it's about him putting the pieces together and helping it click. So hopefully this season is a big time breakout season for Kone. Much like a lot of the guys I've said so far in the midfield, you're not shocked to see him here. As long as he's healthy, he's going to be called up for these games. So it's not shocking to see him in this camp. Jane Nelson is a player I'm very happy is getting the call. I think he more than deserves it. I think he deserved far more minutes than he got in the summer with us. And I hope that maybe these games will rectify that. I hope that he plays in these games, because he has had his best professional season to date, in my opinion. And I don't really think that's a hot take, right? Like, that surely can't be, right? I don't think it is. Regardless, I hope that Jesse Marsch uses these games to play him, and he can at least get a chance to show what he can do. If he plays and he doesn't do well, then all right, at least we gave him a chance, because he wasn't even given a chance in the summer. So yeah, really, really happy that he is there. Nathan Saliba, best Saliba in world football. Of course he's here. He has started life amazingly in Anderlecht, has already gotten himself a couple of goals, and has played a lot so far and has played well. I think he has such a high ceiling, Saliba, and kind of like some of the other youngsters, I think it's a matter of putting it together, finding that consistency, as you would expect at a young age. So yeah, really, really happy to see Saliba in this national team. Seems like he's kind of starting to become a regular call-up for Jesse Marsch, which is also good. Jacob Schaffelberg, I always feel bad. I always feel like I'm ragging on Schaffelberg. I don't think he deserves a call-up. I don't think he's deserved a call-up for quite some time. I know he's capable of some big things. The problem is those have become fewer and further between since that Copa America run. I don't think he has really impressed much since said Copa America run. I could be in the minority. I don't. Maybe they're calling him up so he can serve his game suspension as well. I don't know, but I'm of the notion of I feel like you have to pick based a little bit on form and a little bit on reputation. Like a guy like Alphonso Davies, as long as he's healthy, is always going to get called up, right? That's what I mean on based on reputation. And then on form, you have guys, and I don't mean this as any disrespect, but there is, in a sense, a tier system when it comes to professional sports. A guy being picked on form is like a Jaden Nelson at this moment in his career, of course. That's no knock on Jaden Nelson. I do think that he will go on to accomplish some great things. I mean, he already has. But, a guy like Alphonso Davies, he knows as long as he's healthy, he's going to get the call. A guy like Jaden Nelson knows that he's going to have to work and graft at it and be playing consistently at club level and be playing consistently well at club level to, earn that call up at this moment in time. And I feel like Schaffelberg is more of an informed kind of call rather than a reputation call. I don't think he's warranted enough to be a reputation call as opposed to an informed call. And he hasn't been informed for over a year now. And I don't know why he's being called up. I guess unless they're going to use it to serve his game suspension. I don't think he should be. I think he needs to get back into form with Nashville. And he hasn't really found it for quite some time. And he certainly hasn't found it with Canada for just as long. And I'm sorry, I do like Schaffelberg. I always feel like I'm saying this. I do like Schaffelberg. I do rate Schaffelberg. I just feel like he's found himself in quite the rut at the moment. So I'm sorry, Jacob Schaffelberg, or if you know Jacob Schaffelberg, I'm sorry. I do rate him and I do like him. I just don't think at this moment in time he's warranted a call-up. So some exclusions. I'm doing this off the top of my head, so please forgive me if I forget anyone. Jonathan Osorio, as you know, I'm a big-time Oso fan. I know that his importance, I would say, to the national team is kind of dwindling just because age and whatnot. But I do still think that he has a spot in this national team. I don't think he has that spot much longer with how many young midfielders are coming up and with Oso kind of getting on there, up there in age. But Jesse Marsch does say apparently he is very much in the plans for 2026, so time will tell if that statement is true. But yeah, Oso not being called up, I felt it in my heart a little bit, I felt it just a bit, but I do understand. Give some guys a chance. I get it. Samuel Piette, I know he's not really on the tongues of many people in Canada soccer. It seems like people just seem to have forgotten about his existence. Don't worry, Samuel. We have the same name. I have not. I still think that he is always hard done by when these squad drops go up and he's not there. I do genuinely believe we don't have another player like him at this moment in time in the national team. I think he offers something. I think he's very good defensively. He's got great distribution on him and he's got that leadership quality. And it is a shame that he is not being called up still, but that he wasn't really, sadly, and I don't mean this in a disparaging way, he just wasn't really a shock because Jesse Marsch since the Copa hasn't called him up and he didn't even use him at all in the Copa, and so it is what it is, I guess, sadly, for Samuel Piette. Someone who I am actually really, really upset for is Theo Corbeanu. I think he has done more than enough this season to warrant call-ups. I think he should have been called up for the Gold Cup squad and wasn't. And I was really, really, really holding out hope that he was going to get called up here. But alas, it wasn't meant to be. I think he has been TFC's probably best player this season. And I know, Sam, that's a pretty low bar, but he's actually had a good season as well, just himself. So I think he should feel extremely hard done by, especially seeing. And I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, especially seeing a guy like Ali Ahmed, who's just coming back from injury. He hasn't played a whole ton. I would feel a little bit hard done by. Seeing Jacob Schaffelberg, who's been out of form for quite some time. If I'm Theo Corbeanu, I'm feeling quite hard done by. I think he should be here. I think he has done more than enough to be called up. And I think it's a shame that we're not giving him a chance, especially when this is the best he's played in quite some time. And the most consistently he has played as well in quite some time. So I think it's a mistake by Jesse Marsch not to be calling him up. I hope that he's on the call-up list next time. But I'm not going to hold my breath. It doesn't seem like Jesse Marsch wants to select him. Another guy missing out solely on injury, Liam Miller. He has been home of the Liam Miller Hive. Got to represent. Liam Miller, he is looking like he'll be back with Hull very, very soon. Mid-September, apparently, is what it's looking like. But as I keep saying, time will tell. I miss seeing my boy Liam Miller. I love Liam Miller. I think he is just so good. And hopefully, he comes back from injury and he continues where he left off with Hull and starts lighting it up, because he was doing so good with Hull prior to his injury. So, yeah, really hoping that Liam Miller gets that call when he is healthy. And I believe, I'm hoping I don't forget anybody for the midfield. I think that is the main snubs that jumped out at me, and we're going to say yes. So we're going to move into the forwards. I don't really think many surprises here. Jonathan David, Promise David, Kyle Larin, Tani Oluwaseyi. There's one guy I think that people are surprised to see here. I'm not, but we'll get to him when we get to him. Jonathan David is a obvious no-brainer. Of course he's going to be there as long as he's healthy, and, just scored on his Juventus debut. First ever Canadian to play for and score for the biggest club in Italy. So if you don't think that's cool, maybe this sport just isn't for you. But yeah, really happy for Jonathan David and hoping that he can have a season like last season. Also, by the way, Ballon d'Or snubs, Jonathan David is 100% on that list for me. I think he did more than enough to warrant being in the top 30. But I digress. I think he had a great season last season and definitely should have been acknowledged for that. And I don't have much more to say on him. Of course, he's going to be called up as I said, as long as he's healthy. He's going to get called up. He just will be. He's been our best player for the last minimum 365 days. So yeah, I don't have much more to say. Promise David, happy to see him. I hope he gets more minutes this time around. But he also did just pick up an injury in Belgium, so not sure, obviously, if he will hop out of the squad. If he does, I think you'll see a guy like Daniel Jebison or Theo Bair called in, maybe even a Jason Russell-Rowe. But yeah, time will tell with Promise David. If he does end up playing in this camp, or if he does end up going to this camp, I hope he ends up playing in this camp. There we go. Just because I think you need to strike while the iron's hot, especially with a striker, and the iron is friggin' fuming with how hot it is with Promise David. So yeah, definitely, I hope that he gets some minutes. I'll save Kyle Larin for last because I feel like that's the one that people are talking about the most. Tani Oluwaseyi, who as of today, as of recording this, looks like he's wrapped up a move to Villarreal. So he'll be playing with Tajon Buchanan, and I think that's quite cool. I wish him nothing but the best. He has done very well in the MLS. I know I have criticized him with the national team, but numbers don't lie. He has, 12 goals in the MLS this season? He's up there for sure, and he has... Yeah, I mean, he's been very good for Minnesota. I wish he could replicate it for the national team, and maybe he will once he gets that move to Villarreal. But I think that's a great step up. Villarreal in the Champions League, you can't say no to that. You just can't. And I know maybe some people, would say no to that. But I think if you're playing, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way to the MLS, but if you're playing with Minnesota and then a Champions League club comes calling, especially a club of Villarreal, they are, obviously they're not Real Madrid or Barcelona, but they are a well-respected team in La Liga. I think you have to jump on that move. You have to go, I think. And I wish him nothing but the best in that move. And yeah, that's what I have to say about Tani. Kyle Larin. People don't rate him anymore and haven't for a while. Kyle, just so you know, I still do. Yes, he is, I don't think, as clinical as he used to be, but I do still think that there is that clutch gene in Kyle Larin. Call me delusional, maybe. I don't know. But I do just think that when you have a guy like Kyle Larin who's been around the national team for so long and has... It's not like he's terrible, It's not like he's totally lost it. Like, he hasn't, I will concede he's not as great as he once was, but by no means does that mean that he is terrible, in my opinion. And Jesse Marsch did publicly defend him, and Jesse Marsch got a little bit of heat for it too. People were saying things like, they rate that he kind of is protecting Kyle Aaron, but also at the same time, you got to look at the team, you got to look at the strikers, and that in that sense, I don't disagree. I do think you have to look at the strikers, but outside of Jonathan David and Promise David, what striker is better than Kyle Aaron right now for Canada? That's my question to you. There isn't one. I think right now in form, you go Jonathan David, Promise David, and then I think you do Kyle Aaron. I put him over Tanny. I put him over, this one kills me, love you, Theo Bear. I put him over Theo Bear, and I put him over Daniel Jebison at the moment. And those are really the three guys that are most likely to get the call. Then you have, Brim and Russell Rowe as well, kind of sort of in the mix. And I put him over them, so I can understand why people think that he's not as good anymore, but I also think that there is still a spot in this national team for him until someone can show that they can do it consistently for Canada. Jonathan David, of course, has shown that. Promise David has shown that he can do it at club level, hasn't really gotten a shot at the international level, but when he did, he has scored, so there you go. Taylor O'Shea hasn't shown that he can do it at the international level. Kyle Aaron, I think people are forgetting, is our second top goal scorer, and that's why I think that there's still a spot in this team for him. And, Jesse Marsh did say that Kyle Aaron is expecting, well, he's not expecting a child. His partner is expecting a child. So he could end up having to drop out of the squad anyways, which would then see one of the guys left off the list maybe coming in. But yeah, Kyle Aaron, I will defend him on this one. I think he's our third best striker at the moment. And I think that he's a guy that you bring in. That's just me, and that's what I'll leave Kyle Laren. But yeah, let me know if you disagree. DM me at Maple Footy Pod on the socials, and we can have a civilized chat. Or if this is when this is up on YouTube, comment whatever. I know you can't comment on the podcast streaming platforms, but some snubs I already basically kind of already listed all of them. Jason Russell Rowe, I think can feel a little bit hard done by. I think he's had a positive season in the MLS, hasn't lit it up, but I think is a useful player for sure. Brim as well could feel hard done by. I don't think he's done enough to justify a call-up, but I will mention him here. Theo Bear, I think, can feel a little bit hard done by. I think his form has dropped since leaving Motherwell. But he hasn't been playing as consistently as he was with Motherwell. So maybe another transfer out, maybe back to Scotland or somewhere else, could get him the consistency back and he could start scoring again. And then, oh man, I just had the guy. There we go, Daniel Jebison not being called up. People were kind of surprised by that. I wasn't fully. He's, once again, kind of picked up a knock right at the start of the season with Preston. Hasn't really played so much just yet. But I do think if Kyle Aaron or Promise David drop out, I do think you will see Daniel Jebison be the first guy called, I think. I could be wrong, but that's what I think. But yeah, outside of that, I'll put out way too early predictions for these games, because why not? Who do we play first? So Canada plays Romania on September 5th, and having not seen our lineup or their lineup, I think I'm fully capable of making a prediction. I think it's going to be a dull 0-0 draw. Don't know why, just get that feeling. I think we're going to draw them 0-0, and it's going to be super boring. That's how I feel about that. And Wales is September 9th. I think we get a famous win here. That's my opinion. I think the atmosphere is going to be insane in Europe, so I think it'll be really cool to see our boys get to play there. And I'm going to say 3-2 Canada, just a random scoreline. Regardless, I think we're going to win. I think it'll be a close game, but I think Canada will win that one, and we will go home from the international break happy, being like, yay, we beat Wales. And we will forget about the Romania game if this is how it all works out. But, of course, I will be putting up review things for, as I always do, for these games. So keep an eye out for those. Of course, we have not even played them yet, but yeah, keep an eye out for those when the games are around the corner. And yeah, looking forward to it. I always love doing the coverage for the national team. I say it like they employ me. I just like getting to do this. And yeah, hopefully it's a good window. Hopefully we can end the year strong with these next few international breaks. We have one in September, October, and November. So hoping that the boys can kind of end it strong, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, outside of that, thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed. Find me on all the socials that play at the beginning and end of the episode. And yeah, until next time, cheers, everyone.
And that was your Maple Footy podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Check my socials for any and all future updates. Remember to support Canadian football, be kind, and until next time, live, laugh, little.